Welcome to the Friends in Business podcast with your hosts, Ben Wright and Jemimah Ashleigh. Ben, known as the sales strategist, and Jemimah, our resident visibility expert, are here to share their wealth of knowledge and experience with a little fun along the way. Whether you're a leader, entrepreneur, or aspiring business owner, this is the podcast where we share everything we know about business to help you succeed. Let's get started. Welcome to the Friends in Business podcast.
Good morning, Jemimah.
Oh, good morning, Ben. Another day in paradise.
Another beautiful day.
What a hard day we're having already.
And episode 9 of Friends in Business.
Double what most people get done. I love it.
I like it. How was your morning been?
It was I had a really wonderful morning. I went for a really long walk. I had a delicious breakfast. How about yourself? What did you get up to?
Yeah, I went running actually, and I had quite a bit of time to think. I ran for an hour and a half this morning, and for me that's a long time compared to where I was at, say 2 or 3 years ago. But it's funny, I was thinking about your rule of 5. What are we, episode 9? So that would have been episode 7 for those that haven't listened. And essentially your rule of 5 said you are the sum or the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And that can vary. It might be the 5 people intellectually, and that influences your intellectual drive. From a health and fitness point of view, the sum of my 5 are actually 5 incredibly fit people. So for me, 2 or 3 years ago, going out on a Tuesday morning to go and run 90 minutes, right, leave the house at 5:45.
That's almost hilarious, right? Like I'm not doing any of that. Yeah.
Whereas I can guarantee this morning that out of that group of 5 people, I still had the shortest session. So it's funny how you're stepping up, and it's really had me thinking those last couple of weeks about that rule of 5 and who the 5 people are. And for me, I wouldn't have it any other way from a sporting point of view, because I'm trying to do some things that I haven't been able to do yet in my life. And look, at the moment it's working. So I know you're going to take credit for this. But,
yes, I am.
But okay, we'll let you have that one. All right. So speaking of free time, which I had lots of time this morning to think when I was running, I want to talk about something else today that's free. Well, for some people,
it can be very free, or it can be very expensive.
Yes.
I'm advocating for free today. Yeah.
Yes, and that is media.
Yeah.
So how to get free media, free press.
Ben, I've been waiting to talk about this. This is my favourite thing. You know that. So I know that people do not take advantage of the fact that we are in a 24-hour media cycle. Ben, I got a question for you before we start. Do you only work with people in Australia?
No.
Yeah, of course not. Neither do I. Right. Do you work with people in Europe?
My predominant base is the USA.
Yeah, same with me. So do you work with people in the US?
Yes.
Could you work with people in New Zealand?
Yes.
We have now covered all the bases for time zones.
Yes. Which
means, in theory, we have 24-hour news cycle constantly running at different times. People are watching prime time. They're on the TV. We're on social media at this completely different time. And what I find really interesting is people go, well, I'll only try my little wheelhouse. I'll only have a look at maybe a couple of Australian magazines. Or I pitched to a few people and it didn't go very well. And so we forget that there is a whole big world out there. So today I want to talk about the 24-hour media cycle and specifically how to get coverage. Because this is, I think, where people go, oh, but you have to pay a PR company a lot of money. You don't. I promise you do not have to do that. So let's start at the beginning.
Great, because I'm all ears here.
Yeah, love that. So first thing is that I want to teach you is that journalists are always looking for sources. How many stories do you see every day online? Blogs, media callouts, TV, podcasts, like those experts on TV. Why aren't you the expert that they're calling? People think they just have to wait by the phone. We're like, I'm just going to wait. I'll call at some point. They're not going to do that. They're going to go to the person who actually contacted them and said, I can talk about this issue.
Yeah, of course.
Journalists we have moved away from one person having a job at the Herald Sun or having a job at The Age. We have moved to journalists who are freelancing into multiple, if not dozens of different magazines.
Okay, so that's a change.
It is a huge change. And that's been really big since we've really had this online of the online media. We aren't buying the papers anymore. You used to fly Qantas, used to get given a newspaper. Do you want a copy of I think it was the Australian as you walked in? No one's sitting there anymore with these big broadsheets.
I loved that, especially when the person next to me got the big broadsheet and put it over onto my side.
And you could have a read.
And, it stopped whatever I was doing, so I had to have a read.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can't even have your breakfast at that point.
That's right.
So we've moved away from this and gone to the phone. We've gone to digital media. That's how we're doing it. So journalists don't really need to have a desk anymore in an office for a print newspaper.
Right.
They can work from home. Flexible working arrangements have really changed. And what we're seeing is journalists writing for multiple different places. Now, here's the thing. It also means they're writing for totally different topics. There used to be a sports journalist. There used to be a just the weather guy. The weather guy is now doing 9 different things. That's how it works. Okay. So what ends up happening is journalists are always looking for people and experts to talk about a specific thing. So if you think about a few months ago, there was a criminal charge case that happened in Victoria, and it was involving mushrooms.
How could you have missed that?
Yeah, no one missed that one.
Yeah,
this was about probably over a year ago now. But there was a guy at Melbourne University, and he was an expert in cordyceps. This guy was suddenly charging like $5,000 for an interview, and got hundreds of them because he was an expert in this thing. If you think right now you're listening to this and going, "I'm not an expert in anything, and no one was going to want to listen," trust me, there is somebody that wants to listen to this. So the first thing I want people to know is that there are journalists who are looking to talk to whatever your industry is. They're looking to talk to you. 100%.
That's important on its own. There are people who want to listen to what you have to say.
Absolutely. And sometimes you can make your own cases. I know we're going to talk about podcasting on a future episode, but some people really do want to build their own platform, but there are other people may as well leverage off what other people are already doing, right? To me, that's the crazy way. So first thing is you have to know that it's 24-hour media cycle. Number 2, where to go? Because the next question is, so if you're an expert in anything, someone wants to talk to you. Here are my top tips on this. There is a product in Australia called Source Bottle, SOURCE, Source Bottle. They send out every day 2 emails filled with up to 20 to 30 different media callouts. And anything that you've thought of, it's in there. I've seen one for, have you used Band-Aids? Do you like the iPhone? John Mellencamp's greatest hits CD collector. Sales experts, strategists, plant experts. They are looking for journalists. These are journalists who are writing legitimate stories who are just pushing for sources to come forward. And this is the only thing they do on this platform. And it is completely free. Source Bottle of Interest has around 250,000 subscribers. What percentage of those, how many people per day, I'll give you a number, how many people per day actually check those emails?
So you're saying it's got quarter
of a million
subscribers. These are people who could provide content
who
to
could provide every day. They get 2 emails that come out at 10 and 2 p.m.
Yeah.
How many?
Well, I can tell you, I'm actually on that list.
Great.
And I've had a busy few months.
I have
probably checked it twice.
Great.
In those couple of months. So if I run off those numbers, 2%. That's what I'm going to guess.
Well, 2,000 people.
2,000 out of the 250,000. So less than 1%.
Less than 1% have been checking it every day.
So I'm actually doing well.
You're doing really well, because I will say every time I have this conversation, people go, "Oh, I'm on Source Bottle. When did you read it last?"
Yeah.
Oh, you don't get anything from it. The Age, News.com, ABC, SBS, The Project. These ones I've just been featured on. These aren't even one that my clients have picked up just by learning how to pitch them. Next one is Collectively. So this was what used to be called, for American guys, Harrow, help a reporter out.
Yeah.
Collectively. So this is the US one. So if you're like, I want to do the US, this is the same idea.
Right.
But this thing is on steroids. If you're not handling Source Bottle, do not even try to bring Collectively into this. They will send upwards of 300 to 400 different media opportunities per day.
Wow.
Free. And all you have to do is respond to the journalist.
Not bad. Not bad for getting your name out there, if that's
what
one
you're
of your
trying
goals.
to do. Yeah. For sure. So, third thing I want to tell you about is that you can pay for media. Right now, would you like to be on the front cover of Entrepreneur magazine?
Well, as soon as you said you could pay for media, I started looking at the birds in the background here. It almost lost me completely.
Just out.
But would I want to be on the front cover of the
Entrepreneur magazine?
With what I'm about to do in 3 or 4 months' time, that would be perfect.
How about GQ?
Yeah, look, it's funny, right? Imposter syndrome starts to go
kicked in really hard.
Yeah, but yes, let's say yes.
Yeah, great. If you could just give me about 500,000 US, I could organise both of those.
Great.
One of the things you're going to see, and this is really important, I think, for people to foolproof and understand media, what we see a lot of times is people who go, I've been on the front cover of Entrepreneur magazine and buy my course and it's $5,000. If they've only paid $250,000 to get on there, that's a very low. They need 50 people to cover their $5,000 program to go and like really sufficiently pay for that and to make a really good profit at the other end. There is a real way that there are people out here paying for front covers of things and being like, here's the go-to, here's the story. And the cover's great, the story's great too. You don't need to pay for this stuff. This is what's so interesting to me. The other thing also, and I know we'll get into this in a future podcast episode, but you can pay for awards as well.
You can pay for awards. Aren't awards meant to be given on merit?
Wouldn't you think?
Well, actually.
I want you to really think about business world for a second.
If we start to talk about some of the awards I'm seeing dished out at the moment, there are participation awards for just about everything. But yes, so I think awards should not be on merit. They should be earned.
I agree.
So tell me.
Paying for an award for me seems actually crazy. It seems, but people doing it all the time. And this is where I think we need to have this almost like filter for this is complete rubbish versus this is really good. And this is what's really interesting because people think, oh, I need to pay $1 million to get in media. You don't, but you've seen other people doing it and talking about it. And that's why you think you need to do it.
Right.
So let's talk about the magazines you should be in because this is what I think is really important here.
And will we go back to awards before the end of the podcast?
No, we're not. We're going to come to another whole episode about that, Ben.
Right.
I think I could lose you for 3 to 4 hours on awards. I'm sure of it.
So before we then go on to that, so when you talk about paying for awards, essentially what you're saying is there's lots of awards out there that we can be signing up for that we can receive without having to pay.
Absolutely.
As well as ones we can pay for. But getting awards are a way of getting some free press.
Absolutely. And the same thing with media. You can go for free stuff and you can go for the paid stuff.
Great.
Both exist.
I just want to make sure we in fact, we'll do that at the end of this episode. What I'm going to make sure we do is we go back through those 5 and just get some really chunky one-steps out of them because it can be a real difficult minefield.
There's a lot of stuff going on here when you're talking about any type of media because people immediately go, well, it's a 24-hour media cycle. It can be in every country. Yeah. Where should I be going? These are the 2 or 3 places I'd recommend. Yeah. Yes, you can pay for it. I do not recommend it. I have not paid, and I hand on heart, I have been featured at least 350 times in the media and varying levels of like Joe's blog, so-and-so's podcast who got 3 episodes done and I was the first guest versus all the way through to the project Sunrise Today. Like these weren't difficult to get on and I've not paid for any of it.
Yeah, right.
And so people go, well, how much did that cost you? Nothing. It cost me time, strategy, and process. So the next thing I want you to know here is that you need to know where you're going to be featured. It's all well and good if I said, hey, Ben, I've got this media opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Are you excited? It's going to be great. It's in Horse and Hound magazine.
Thank you, but not for me.
Yeah, but this is what traditional PR firms do is they give you the thing. They're like, oh, we've got you this interview, go and do it. And you go, I trust you guys, but all right, I'll do this Horse and Hound interview. No, we need you to go and do the one for Entrepreneur or GQ or Mamma Mia or Forbes or these ones where your ideal client is spending time and money. So one of the things I hear all the time is where to start. I'm a huge advocate for 1 being greater than 0 at every time. If you are brand new and you're listening to this and you're like, I've never done media before, I recommend you do the Joe's Blogs blog. I want you to go and do those ones.
Make your mistakes early.
Make mistakes early when no one's listening.
Yeah.
Like learn the moment where you kept talking and you can watch the interview and go, what is she still? Oh, she's still going. Okay, great. You want to be able to read the room better. Yeah. You also want to listen to the answer and the questions and how you tell your story and get some practice. Because if you firstly go to Forbes, we now have a bigger problem.
Yeah. Yeah, practice makes perfect. Anything we do, we practice away from the big stage.
Yeah.
So that when we do get to that, we're ready to go.
Absolutely. And the big thing here is know where your ideal client's reading. We go back to this all the time. Where's your ideal client spending time and money? And this includes their attention. So if you know that all of your people are reading Forbes magazine or entrepreneur. And I know we're talking about business owners here, but for the women who are listening, mamma mia, 97% female base, 2 million logins a week. That's somewhere you need to be spending your time and your money for sure.
Great. Got it.
Final thing that I want to say here, pitch some stories.
Pitch some stories.
Pitch some stories.
So does that mean you need to know your stories?
I would say that this is one of the things I'm a huge advocate for is creating 10 things that you want to talk about. Whatever's happening in your business, someone wants to know about it. Now, it may not be the end person that you would like. Forbes may not care that you're releasing the course or that you won that award or that you were featured on a tiny podcast. They may not want to know that, but I can guarantee you your local newspaper will.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that if you're doing something that helps businesses start and launch, Lady Startup Hub will care.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that if you're a woman in business doing cool stuff, Mamma Mia is going to want to grab you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to find who is going to care about your story and who's going to advocate for that and start telling them. It is as simple as doing an email and saying, this is what we're doing at the moment and this is what's happening. The alternative to that, and I'm sure we're going to do on the podcast on this in the future, but is how to pitch an idea across, is just look at what's happening in the media and make it fit. If the budget's changed, you're able to pitch it. If the budget has taken money away from small businesses or even larger businesses or tax cuts have happened or not, do you know how easy it is to get picked up that week?
So there's a couple of things in here. I just want to unpack them because we jumped across a couple. So the first one is get your 10 stories right.
Yes. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to talk about? What are you happy to be in the media for? If I gave you a microphone right now, Ben, what could you talk about for 10 minutes? Might have some questions being asked, but we want to know.
Second one is once you've got those 10 stories, work out which publications or newsletters are going to care. Okay, so we've got 2 things there. So there's quite a few things in those 5. What would be great to do now, if it's okay, is let's just go through those 5 again.
Absolutely.
Top line, and then we'll do some tips around where you can start.
Absolutely. Love it. So first things first, it is a 24-hour media cycle, number 1.
Yeah.
You need to know it's 24-hour media cycle. If you are working in the States or you're working in Australia and you're dialing in from another country, if you're looking at Europe or the UK, this is perfect for you to know. You need to know this. It's really important. Once you know that you're in a 24-hour media cycle, the second tip is start looking for where those free media opportunities are. So number 2, look at things like Source Bottle, look at Collectively, look at Help a Reporter Out, still sending out emails.
Harrow.
These places.
That's Harrow.
Yeah, Help a Reporter Out. Really, really important.
Yeah.
Number 3, know that you can pay for media, because I want you to really understand that there's some that for some of you guys, really worthwhile. For other people, I do not recommend that at all. But know that it exists so you aren't getting fooled by other people's stories. I really want you to know that that's there.
Right.
And that you don't have to.
So what that essentially is doing is talking about how we influence ourselves as consumers.
Yeah.
So we don't believe everything we see because we know there's paid media. Great. Number 3. Number 4?
Number 4, know where your ideal client is, what they're reading, where they're spending time and money. Know where they're reading so you can start to look at how can I get in front of them.
Okay, great. We've spoken a lot about knowing where your ideal customers hang out.
It's our favourite thing to talk about, actually.
It's an extension of that. Yeah, great. Okay.
And number 5 is start to look at pitching to them. Make relevant stories. Get ready to start just emailing and saying, I want to do a press release to you. I want to pitch a story idea to you. It's a lot easier than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah, yeah.
I think these are such easy little things that you can do. Checking Source Bottle is not hard to do. Might be for some people.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that was directed at me, not everyone listening. Okay, so that's get your 10. I feel like I've supported you pretty well through this podcast.
You have.
To get that. So 10 stories gets you going, gives you a baseline to be able to roll out repeatedly. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing with this stuff, if you're only talking about 10 things, if that's all you're talking about, if that's what you're leaning hard into, these are the 10 things that you're going to be known for, this is what you're pitching to the media, that's not going to change significantly. So what ends up happening is when a Source Bottle comes out and you go, that's relevant, well, super relevant to the one that was on Thursday, let me just go back and grab the cut and paste and put that in there. Yep. This stuff, again, is systemized, it's process-driven. It is just having that time to go, it's 10 a.m, I better check my email.
Yeah, cool. Perfect. Love it. All right. So those 5 tips are really good, but there's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there.
We've spoken a few times around the destination sometimes stopping the journey starting, and how we need to find little pots of gold along that journey to make sure that we're not overwhelming ourselves with what we need to get done. So if you're a novice right now in this, and it doesn't matter whether you own your own business, whether you work in a professional job, right, or a subcontracting, it doesn't matter what it is, where would you start?
I would start by establishing the 10 things that I want to be known for. And once I have that down, and I know that most of you guys have probably worked on that before, is to sign up to Source Bottle and put a reminder in your calendar to go and check it. It comes out at 10 a.m. and it comes out at 2 p.m. every day.
Yeah, okay, excellent. And would that also be your number one tip?
Yes, absolutely.
Podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you're going to be the person who wants to really start taking media seriously and get into these ideas, Source Bottle, Help a Reporter Out, Harrow, collectively, these places are going to give it to you on a silver platter.
Yeah,
and it's just very easy and super repeatable for you to go and find how to get there.
Great. It's interesting when we talk about our key takeaway from podcasts. Sometimes we will have different takeaways, and other times we'll have exactly the same thing. And for me, I interviewed a gentleman named Akeem Shannon out of the US a few months ago. Flipstick is his business. He created Flipsticks. That's the application you put on your mobile phone and then it makes it stick to the wall. A famous business, and he's had a famous story around it. He had a great quote that has stuck with me. Right? I've interviewed a lot of people over the last 18 months, and this one stuck with me, and it said, not everyone is a great storyteller, but we all have stories to tell.
Yes.
So on this one, I agree with you. I would start with the your top 10, or it might be 8, it might be 12, but get your top stories down pat so you can practice them so that when you do get to the big show, you're ready to go. And then the second part I would say is, jump onto Source Bottle one at a time and use it. And
just get used to it. I think this is the other thing is it can seem like it, and there was a lot of information in this podcast, I understand that, but it's like if you can start at Source Bottle and go, I've now got this under control. Now it's the time to introduce Harrow. Now's the time to get collectively. These are the things that we can slowly build into. It's the same thing that we talk about regularly with social media. Start with one, move to the next, add to it. And once you are comfortable with one of them, but if we can start building this stuff in, and even if you only get 5 or 6 media opportunities in a year, that's 5 or 6 that you didn't pay for, additional eyeballs on you, additional visibility, and that's what we're all about here.
Yeah, I like it. And do you know what, Jemimah? You might make friends with a journalist or two, but if you don't, you're always going to have your friends in business, which has been us, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
I've been tried and you know I've been tested.
Thank you for listening to the Friends in Business podcast. This episode was brought to you by your hosts, Ben Wright and Jemimah Ashleigh, recorded in beautiful Noosa, Queensland. For more insights and resources, visit Ben at strongersalesteams.com and Jemimah at jemimahashleigh.com. If today's podcast has helped you, we'd be so grateful if you could leave a review and share with someone you know. This will help more people in the world benefit from the hard work we're putting in to bring you the best content we possibly can.